I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
He is terrible!
You gotta know how many wieners are going down these dudes' throats.
I want to go quick because I don't give a fuck about anything that's going to happen on Saturday.
Hello, boys! We are back with a 2-episode week of the MMA Analysis podcast. I'm your host, Jay Primetown. This episode will be breaking down the first UFC event of the year, the return of one of Wes's favorites, the nutty one, McNutty. He coined the term. It's his guy. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of the God action going on in the NBA. Wes must be pretty thrilled that some of his
they're everywhere.
Brethren are stepping up, especially the guy down in OKC, SGA, the God.
The Canadian should be happy.
And then Duchon should be happy too. He's pound for pound number 6 player in Canada now.
I don't know why those Kentucky guys, those recruiters, make their way up to the frozen north and steal a bunch of basketball players, and it's good stuff.
They know what they're doing.
Yep.
I've been telling y'all, man, that Canadian national team in Tokyo, they're gonna medal.
We just got to get there. We're not even fucking qualified yet.
They'll be qualified. They're gonna medal in Tokyo. You can book that shit.
Oh,
they're gonna
shit.
medal.
Oh wow! You're asking them to show up.
I gotta find a number on that shit.
There's the other teams, Spain. I mean, they're not the only team that can play.
Oh, there's great teams over there, man. That Spain team, there's some really good international basketball now, but they all said they're going to show up and play, and if they do, I'm telling you, that Canadian team is loaded now. It's really good.
Very competitive. Well, again, let's see if they show up. I can rely on RJ Barrett.
I mean, they've pretty much come out in the past couple months and said they're signed up.
They kind of all met together and decided that they're actually going to show up in the summer for.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, their guard play can rival anybody in the world. I mean, you're talking SGA, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett. I mean, come on.
Let's not get crazy here. What?
That's some good
Ricky
stuff.
Rubio still going to run circles around these old ones.
You're gonna pull Paul Gasol out. Gonna be
Mark and Paul. They're just gonna run. Just gonna run the same pick and roll all day with the two twin towers.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, it works. So this is the preview episode for the first UFC event of 2020. I'm sure there's a lot of events like every year, but this one certainly has a bit of luster with the return of the McNutty, his first fight since, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's the first fight since, October of 2018, so about 15 months, or 17 months about, since his last fight when he got subbed by my boy, Khabib.
Feels like it's lacking a bit of normal hype that we're used to. Maybe it's going to crank up during fight week, but it's a bit slow going with this, kind of slow pace into the 2020.
I also think that his homegrown fan base has grown very tired of him. I think it's obvious. You're seeing that the past couple of weeks.
I think that's certainly possible.
A lot of out of cage activity more than not fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not fighting doesn't help either.
Not staying relevant. It doesn't. Yeah, that's very true.
That's right. But there's there's a lot of fights. 13 fight card. Let's see if 13 fights stay intact, or you know how this game rolls. Early prelims are on Fight Pass. Preliminary card, like most pay-per-view cards, is on ESPN television, and then the main card is on, I guess technically ESPN Plus, but is pay-per-view. All right, so the first fight of the year is
You should take a flight.
I should take a flight and not watch this fight. The first fight is a women's flyweight fight of all things. It is JJ Aldrich taking on something called Sabina Mazo. Wes, do you have Any thoughts on this fight?
I mean, just it's so fucking MMA to start off the year with a women's flyweight fight,
150, or 125. Yeah.
Yeah, so amazing. Yeah, not much for me. I'm gonna pick first, and don't forget to sign up. We are doing Tout Master again this year. If
Master, Gamble Master will be tweeting all that stuff out from the analysis account and Gamble Master account and all that stuff. So get a bunch of signups for all that stuff in this week. Don't wait till the last second.
A few more days left. Yeah.
Yeah. Do not wait till the last second, especially Gamble Master, because sheet's got to be set up and everything. So yeah, paid out a lot of money last year. So yeah, get in there. Yeah, for my first pick of Tout Master will be no bet for me, but I'm gonna go with JJ Aldridge by decision. It's gonna go over. And next,
Nishant.
I actually looked at possibly betting JJ Aldridge.
Wow.
I liked what I saw obviously in that first round against Barber. She looked decent against Mueller, but the more I looked at it, Mazzo's actually more active than she is, a little bit longer reach. I know obviously she hasn't fought the caliber of competition that Aldrich has, so it just kept me away from betting Aldrich, but I'll pick her to win a boring-ass decision.
Yeah, I got Mazzo at D, Aldrich a C. I think Aldrich's way more talented than her, fought way better competition. I'll take Aldrich as well to win the first UFC fight of 2020. I believe we're seeing a UFC debut in the second fight of the evening. It's something called Odie Osborne.
The Jamaican sensation.
Taking on Brian Kelleher, who we know.
It's a Contender Series guy that I don't remember.
I don't remember this title. I don't remember him. Do you?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I kind of do. I watched this fight a couple of weeks ago, but then I took a nice long break off of MMA. He ended up getting a quick arm bar. It wasn't even some. I think he did it in 30 seconds or something like that. I think this is just a tough guy to fight in your debut UFC fight, man. I know Kelleher's lost a couple fights lately, but I think he's fought just two insanely talented guys in his last two fights. So the UFC experience, this guy's first fight, I'm not sure I agree with Kelleher being a dog here, even though slightly. So he's definitely going to be the pick, but I don't have any money on it yet. If I did, you think you got to bet Kelleher here at dog odds or pass?
New Sean.
Kelleher hasn't fought in over a year. He has a shit ton of sub losses, and Osborne actually has a decent amount of subs wins. So I'll pick the young up and comer. Kelleher, like I said, hasn't fought. He's getting up there in age. So yeah, I'll take Osborne, but I'm not betting him.
I'm on the new train thought process. I'm gonna fade Kelleher. I used to kind of like him, but he's getting older, and I think he's fallen off a bit in his last couple fights. I think there's some warning signs there. I got him as a D+. But I'm gonna just take a flyer on the new fighter Osborne, just because
he did fight Lineker and Montel Jackson in his last two fights. So
it's true, but that was also a year ago.
Yeah, and he wasn't
getting old, and
either though.
Yeah,
he probably needed that time after getting fucked up by Montel Jackson. Just saying.
Next fight should be a pretty good one. Flyweight fight. We got Askarov taking on Timmy Elliott.
Yeah, we did another podcast we'll release, and I think I talked about Askarov a tiny bit. This is a big fight for him, man. This is a pretty big step up in competition. We all big fan of Tim Elliott here. Guy's just a madman inside the cage and puts on just great action fights every single time out. That's kind of a bad thing with Tim Elliott too, man. That dude puts himself in really, really bad situations constantly, and I'm not sure how good Askarov is yet. But if he can win this fight, that shoots him up the ladder quite a bit. I'm going to pick him here. I'm going to go with the younger guy. And like I said, big fan of Tim Elliott, but Tim Elliott always seems to just put himself in really bad situations. And he used to find ways out and win those type of situations, and he's doing that less and less now. So I'm going to go with the more kind of safer fighter in Askarov. He'll be my pick. No bet.
All right. I'm going, or rather, Nushan, your thoughts here.
This should be an interesting fight because both guys rely quite a bit on takedowns. Now, whether that's going to cancel out or one guy's going to be better than the other, it's tough to know which one it's going to be. Tim Elliott likes to alternate wins and losses. He's done that the last 6 fights. So he lost last time out, so I guess he's going to win this time out. I don't know. He's another guy, relies a lot on risky moves, and like Wes said, he's got caught in some recently. So I don't think Askarov is going to be able to snap it up early, a submission. So I think Elliott will be able to fight through that and could win a decision here. So I'll pick Elliott. It's a pretty close fight.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. I got both guys a C+. I think this is a tough fight to call. There's a veteran going against, kind of a young up-and-comer with a pretty good amount of hype. I don't know. I think I might just pick Askarov as well. Again, kind of go with the theme. New year, new decade. Let's, maybe another young up-and-comer is going to get the job done. So, I like my Russians, so I'm going to take Askarov, but not a ton of confidence in this one. Next fight, we got another debutant, some guy named Kamer, taking on boxing. I like the box. I don't like MMA. Justin Ledet.
This Kamer guy actually had a pretty decent performance on Dana White Contender Series this past year against a pretty good opponent. Like I said, I watched it a couple of weeks ago. Now, like you said, Ledet, he's going to be a pure boxer here. I actually think Kamer's probably the more well-rounded, skilled striker and fighter overall. Ledet had a little bit of a row going, man, and then they fed him to a couple just guys that are
actual fighters.
Yeah, and so much better than him, all around fighters. So he's definitely getting, like we say in horse racing, he's getting a class drop here. That's for absolute sure. We don't know how good this Kamer guy is, but on Jay's theme, I'm gonna take the younger fighter here that's undefeated and had a pretty decent performance last time out in his biggest spot of his career. So I think he can do that again here against Ledet, and he's going to be the pick. But no bet from me here. Going to sit back and watch one.
All right, Nushan.
Kamer's fought absolute trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
Even the guy he beat on Contender Series, if you look at any of the guys that he's beat, they're all 0-1, 1-1 records. I think he's definitely has some more skills, but he is very, very young in his MMA career. I'll take Ledet, just being a little more veteran and grizzled and fought the obviously way better competition. But would I be surprised if this young guy comes in and blitzes Ledet and knocks him out? Of course not.
I'm not a believer in Ledet. I got him as a D-. I think he's really a guy that wants to box, but just realized he couldn't make any money at that and somehow found a way into UFC, won a fight or two, and then it's like, oh, I guess I can make some money at this. Never really figured out MMA, and he's just getting exposed every time he fights. So I don't need to know much about Kamer to realize that at least he thinks MMA is the thing he wants to do. So that enough to me is a victory for him. So I'll take Kamer to get the job done. I think the prelims now, we go to the TV prelims. I think it's a pretty good TV prelim card across the board. First fight is Grant Dawson taking on Chaz Skelly. This should be decent, Wes.
Yeah, should be a pretty good fight. I'm still pretty heated about Skelly's last fight. I'm pretty sure I bet against him in that last fight, and he finally pulled one off. But I mean, fuck, man. Before that, he lost to Jason Knight and Bobby Moffitt. I just don't think Skelly's great, man. He's a tough guy, but that's usually not a good trait to have. I think Grant Dawson is a really good up and coming fighter in this division, and man, he really should run through Chaz Skelly in this fight, man. So if you're looking for a parlay piece, this is probably a pretty good one. I like Grant Dawson here.
Okay. All right, Nushan.
Yeah, I like Dawson here as well. I liked what I've seen from him so far in the UFC. Obviously, he's a little he gets tagged a bit on the feet, which we saw in the Trezano fight, but this guy is a very good grappler. I think it's sub or bust, honestly, for Skelly, and I think Dawson is good enough when he's on top to be able to defend whatever Skelly's throwing up. So I think Dawson's gonna be able to smash him on the ground and do pretty well on the feet. I got him at minus 220, and I put him in a 1-unit parlay.
I got Dawson C-, Skelly D+. The Skelly has had so many issues with just cardio and just like going for long periods of time, and Dawson's basically like one of the best conditioned fighters in his weight class. I think that's just a nightmare matchup for Skelly. As this goes past round 1, he's going to just run out of gas, and Dawson's going to be able to steamroll the longer this fight goes. I think this is one of the better picks on the card, just because of just really the conditioning. I think that's a major factor in this fight. And I like Dawson to win. I'm likely to be betting it myself. I believe this is the first leg of our consensus parlay.
Yes, sir.
Grant Dawson money line. There's a second piece coming up later in our podcast. Next fight is one I've been looking forward to. It is Drew Dober taking on Kelvin Gastelum's doppelganger, Nasrat Haqparast, the Afghan warlord.
Haqparast has turned into a pretty damn good fighter, man, already. Dude's still only 24 years old. He's I think looking back, the Diakisi win is pretty good now on paper. And man, Dober's just another guy that he's really tough. He's just not really great in any one thing, man. He will give you a tough out every single time out, but I think he's just outclassed here in this fight. I do think he's tough enough to stay in it the entire fight, but Haqparast is going to get takedowns at will here, and I think he probably gets a pretty wide decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if he finished Dober later in this fight, just by just unanswered strikes on the mat. So I always like Dober as just a tough out and a good fight, but he's outclassed here, man, and Haqparast is going to win this fairly easy.
Nushan?
Yeah, I think Haqparast is going to look pretty damn good in this fight. I don't know I don't think he's going to take down Dober. I think this is going to be a mainly stand-up fight. And I think he has a pretty big speed advantage over Dober and just much cleaner strikes. The only thing I don't know is if Haqparast is going to get a finish. Drew Dober's pretty tough. He's only been knocked out once in his career. The line that I was looking at was Haqparast by decision. You can get it up to like plus 110 at some books that I can bet at. So haven't decided if I'll play that, but I think this is going to be pretty one-sided with Haqparast coming on top.
Okay, I got Haqparast C, Dober C-. I mean, both these guys kind of have like a similar style. I just think Haqparast is younger and faster at this point. And he's probably a better wrestler. Yeah, so it's kind of like tank versus tank, and American tanks are better than Russian tanks. I mean, or maybe in this case, it's really communist Russian tanks are better than like New Age American tanks. It's a new world. What can I say? All right, let's move on. Andre Fili against your boy Sodiq Yusuff. This is one of the best fights on the entire card, I think.
Yeah, this is a great fight, man. Feely's really put together a good year last year. I agree with most that I see that he's definitely improved. I'm not sure how much he's improved from the guy that lost to Michael Johnson. I'm right there to being completely sold on Yusuff, man. This is probably going to stay on the feet for the most part. And, Philly's length is a problem for most guys, but man, I just think Yusuff has the foot and the hand speed, to negate that reach that Philly's going to have here. And if it does stay on the feet for the most part, Yusuff he's gonna win a kickboxing match, man. I like him here. This is a step up for Yusuff, but I think this is where we see how good this guy really is. And at the current line, it's around minus 130 now. I'm gonna be on Yusuff here. He's definitely a bet for me. Think this probably gets to a decision. Both guys are pretty good strikers and tough, and don't. Philly's had some problems with getting hurt in fights, but not recently. So this probably gets to a decision. I think it's one that Yusuff wins.
Dushan?
I think most of us have been pretty sold on Yusuff since coming into the UFC. He looked very good against Gabriel Benitez last time out. Like Wes said, Andre Fili has looked better after he kind of had an up and down start to his UFC career, way back. Fuck, he's been in the UFC since 2013. How crazy is that? But yeah, he had a good 2019. I think Yusuff, like Wes said, I think Yusuff has the speed advantage. He also has the physicality advantage. I think if he's kind of getting picked apart too much on the end of Fili's punches and kicks, I think he can grind on the fence against Fili and kind of wear him out. We've seen that in some of his other fights on the Contender Series a bit and before that. So I like Yusuff here. I think he might be the real deal. Unfortunately, he fights for an absolute shitbag. But I mean, there is also that chance that he could just Lloyd Irving could come in and just chloroform before the fight and then get him off his game. So I took Yusuff. I got a shitty number. I took him at minus 138. I put 2 units on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Fili a C, Sodiq Yusuff C+. I've been, Fili's a pretty decent fighter, but I think Yusuff is a better striker. I think he's a more effective striker. I think he's going to be able to stuff Fili's takedown attempts, and that's really the difference here. In a forced stand-up exchange, Yusuff's going to beat him fair and square. So I'm going to take Yusuff. I think this is, I'm not going to say it's a lock, but I think when it comes down to like what the odds are, which is Yusuff's a minus 130 favorite, I think that's a pretty good price. It's hard to dislike that. This is very likely going to be one of my bets on this card. Let's move on to the preliminary main event. This is something. We got looks like a killer and Macy Barber taking on the least likely killer, Roxanne Modafferi. Hope they have an ambulance ready. All right, Wes.
Yeah, there's really not much to say in this fight. Macy Barber's good. She's she's an animal too. She finishes fights. Roxanne, as much as everybody likes Roxanne, she's not very good. This is going to be a mauling. I like Barber inside the distance, or fight inside the distance if you want a little bit more safety there. But Macy Barber is going to absolutely demolish Modafferi here. Period.
No, Sean?
Yeah, there's not much to say here. Macy Barber is, I think, one of the most physical, or is the most physical fighter at 125. Easily has the most power. And the takedown defense, I guess it still hasn't really been tested. People were wondering about it going into the Jillian Robertson fight, and she did shoot a couple times, but I don't know. I think Roxanne's in big trouble anytime this is on the feet. It's going to be sub or bust for Modafferi, and I just don't see it happening. So I closed the Dawson parlay with this fight won't go the distance. So together I got them at plus 108 for 1 unit.
Okay. I'm aligned. This is a beatdown. There's a reason Macy Barber is a minus 1,000 favorite, is that Modafferi is really a grappler. She's going to try to strike, but Barber hits extremely hard for someone in this weight class. Modafferi can't take the damage. She's going to get beat up. This could get ugly. The ref's going to have to stop it. I love this. I think Barber wins inside the distance, like 4 times out of 5. And Barber inside the distance should absolutely be a piece, and it's a piece of our consensus bet for this card. This is the second leg of that parlay. So the first leg was Grant Dawson money line. The second leg is inside the distance. And Nushan, what is the price on that currently?
Minus 109.
Minus 109. That is Modafferi. That is Barber inside by TKO, or is it just inside the distance?
That was fight doesn't go to decision.
Fight doesn't go to decision. So fight ends in inside the distance. Okay. Fight inside the distance doesn't go to decision with Grant Dawson. Very good. All right. Main card starts off with the good old Anthony Pettis returning from the dead, taking on CDF Carlos Diego Ferreira. Wes, is this a good fight to start a main card off with, or a bad fight to start a main card off with?
No, it's a good fight.
Should be action.
Yeah, Pettis still brings it. Even though I think he's fucking laundry out on a clothesline. He's completely washed, but he still brings it. We just got to look back at Pettis' last few fights, man. People are still living on the Thompson walk off and shit, but he was getting absolutely murdered in that fight. He's about done, man. It's kind of crazy that we're just seeing some of these fighters that are around like right over 30, and they're like 70 in fight years. They've had so many fights, and they're just completely fucking washed, man, at 30 years old. And Pettis is there, man. Then on the opposite side, you got a guy like Diego Ferreira that's pushing 35, and he's probably hitting his kind of peak. Beat two really tough Russians last year. Had 2 really good performances, and you know what you're getting with CDF every single fight, man. He's one of the most safest bets in all of MMA for over the past couple of years. So yeah, I like CDF here. We'll probably have him parlay with something. You can't trust Anthony Pettis at this point.
That's not. Yeah, that's true. All right, Nushan?
Yeah, I think Pettis is washed. He's coming back down to 155 after fighting twice at 170. That can obviously cause some issues. He's looked pretty rough in the last 3 fights. Obviously, he got that Hail Mary knockout against Stephen Thompson, and looked okay in the first round against Ferguson, but I think he is donezo, and Ferreira brings it, man. He's going to be all offense, and Pettis does not do well against guys that come forward and back him up, and he just puts his back on the cage and tries to dodge shit, and he just gets bombed on. So I expect CDF to put it on Pettis. I laid it. I laid minus 226 for 2 units on CDF. I also put a half unit on CDF by TKO at plus 420. I think he is going to do bad things to Pettis.
I got Pettis as a C plus actually. CDF as a B minus. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Pettis could be if it ends up being a striking only contest. I think this is fairly competitive. It's just that Pettis is just much more unreliable. CDF is a really smart fighter. Has shown that. Figures out if it's working on the feet, he'll keep it there. If it wants to go to the grapple, he'll try to keep it. He'll try to go there. This should be pretty interesting. I don't see it as being a blowout. But I do like CDF to win this fight. I just like the momentum he's had. So that's just my thought process there. Again, not a blowout, but CDF gets the job done. Next fight, oh boy, my girl Claudia Gadelha taking on Alexa Grasso. I hope. All right, Wes, thoughts on this one?
And back to some more clothesline laundry here. Yeah, I mean, Claudia's just she's not the same chick, or maybe just a lesser version of the chick she's always been. A round and a half of just an absolute murderer, and then gasping for life for the rest of the fight, and you're just praying she doesn't get finished. I actually think that's probably how this is going to play out. I've never been the biggest Grasso fan. I think she's probably going to get beat up quite a bit for a round and a half here, and then if you bet Claudia with any kind of money, you're going to be fucking clenched up, just hoping she hangs on for the second half of the fight. I'm going to pick Claudia. I think she's the way better fighter, personally. I just think she has the same flaws that she's always had, and you're just going to be hoping she's got enough gas tank to not get finished in the third round. And I'm going to pick that she hangs on and wins a decision. No bet.
No, Sean.
Yeah, this is a tough fight to call. Grasso, in her last fight against Esparza, she was taken down twice in the each of the first two rounds, and I could definitely see Gadelha doing the same thing. But Gadelha looks so bad in like all of her last three fights, even especially against Ansaroff. I mean, Ansaroff's decent, so I guess that's not as bad of a loss. But even the win against Randa Marcos, like that, she didn't look good in it. Squeaked a win out of Carla Esparza. It's hard to know just how far gone she is. And then you got Grasso, who I guess her best win is against Kovalevich, but she's fucking washed now too. And then she beat Marcos by a split decision. So there's just so many unknowns in this fight. I guess I'll take Grasso. She's a more active fighter. Hopefully she's drilled a bunch more takedown defense after getting taken down by Esparza. But not a chance I can bet on either of these sides.
Fair enough. I got Gadelha B minus, Grasso a C plus. Oh man, I want to bet Claudia so badly, but I mean I feel like she's been affected in the last few years like as badly as like Renan Barão has. It's just like more recently. So like as the complete off the cliff thing hasn't happened as far yet, but it's like really ugly. Yeah, I don't know how one would want to put any money on Gadelha at this point. She's like so unreliable. But I mean, the path to victory is there. Like she could take Grasso down and like, do that whole thing, the whole song and dance. So, oh man, I'm gonna have to take Grasso. I don't want to, but I have to. I can't trust Claudia. Prove to me I'm wrong, and then we'll talk. 3 fights left to cover. We got Maurice Green, not the sprinter, but the MMA fighter, taking on Alexei Oleinik. Oh boy, sexy Lexi.
Could you imagine Maurice Green trying to run the 100 on a full pack of fucking Virginia Slim 120s?
Flicks his dart before taking off.
How long would it take?
How long would it take? Oh man, that's
25.
Double boat.
Hour.
Yeah, man. This is such a shit fight, man. This could get just really ugly really fast. I'm gonna take my boy Morris Green. He's won me a good chunk up until that last fight, and just to sprinkle on him last fight, I knew how good Pavlich was. But Morris Green is beat a few guys, dudes that can't strike with him. They're usually in some problems. Pavlich was such a better striker with a bunch of huge power. So it turned out how it turned out. Not too surprisingly. I just think Olenek, man, this he's getting old. He's been fucked up pretty bad his past two fights out. And would I be shocked if he got a fucking choke on Green in some crazy position? No, I wouldn't at all. But I think Maurice Green could keep a little distance here and kickbox on him. The dude's a glory level kickboxer before he was in the UFC. So if this stays at a little bit of distance and on the feet, Maurice Green is going to catch him. In my opinion, I'm going to sprinkle on my dude here just because I got to keep it every single time, but nothing big, man. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Alexei caught him with something dumb and some stupid position up against the cage.
All right. New Sean.
Yeah, I think this is the definition of a coin flip. You got a guy in Olenek who somehow pulls just rabbits out of his hat using some crazy choke that nobody else uses, which works at heavyweight against certain guys. And then he's also the guy that can get knocked out in 12 seconds by Walt Harris. So I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. Hopefully Maurice Green knocks him out just because I'd rather see Maurice Green get a bunch more fights because he's a fun dude. And the old man he's already had his day. I don't think he needs more brain damage after 70 fights. So I'll pick Maurice Green, but not a chance betting this fight.
All right, man, I don't want to touch this fight with a 20-foot pole. I got Green a D, Olenek a D+. I mean, I know that Olenek can finish fights and he's goofy, and I like that. So I'm going to take Olenek just because he's shown the ability to do those type of things. But honestly, I have no idea. I would stay far away from this fight. 2 fights left, a little more, I think, a little more predictable. This one, Holly Holm taking on Raquel Pennington for the second time. The first time it went to a split decision, which no one understood. All right.
Yeah. I never really thought Holly's like some great fighter. I know they've built her up so many times over so many years in the UFC now. But this is a really good matchup for her, man. She's going to be able to sit back and pick Pennington apart. In my opinion, I just don't think there's really too much to be said about this fight. I'm probably gonna have to bet Holly Holm here. I think the line's kind of short, honestly. Like I said, I don't think Holly's ever been some great fighter, but she's always pretty much had to fight the names and the best in the sport because she's always been pushed like that. And Pennington she's been badly blown out every single time that she's got in that position. So Holly's more just a little bit better of a fighter, and I think her length and stuff's going to be really bad for Pennington. So probably a very boring decision here, but one that I think Holm takes fairly easily. So she's going to be a bet for me.
New Sean?
Ugh. I really don't want to bet this fight, but I am surprised at how low the number is on Holm. Like, I understand she obviously is coming off that brutal knockout by Amanda Nunes, but fucking Pennington did not look good against Irene Aldana before that, obviously losing to Durandame and Nunes. I don't understand this, and I really don't want it, but I'm probably going to have to put a small bet on Holly Holm. She's just the better technical fighter. That first fight, I think, did not really show of what Holly Holm was. That was her UFC debut. They hyped her up a ton, and then she fell very flat. I expect her to win a boring-ass decision.
Yeah.
Great co-main event, eh?
Yeah, really good one. Yeah, I mean, what is the price? I mean, minus
130, 135.
Yeah, this line makes no sense. I got home A minus. Pennington's a C. I mean, this is a bet to me. I mean, Holly Holm is a way superior fighter. I mean, nothing Raquel Pennington showed me suggests that she can finish Holly Holm, and nothing suggests to me that she's gonna be able to grapple her consistently in this fight to find a way to get a victory. I mean, Holly's way too strong. They've fought previously. I know it was a little bit of a goofy fight, but I mean, Holly controls distance so well. I don't think Pennington's gonna be able to land anything of significance. So I'm gonna take Holly Holm, and I'll bet Holly Holm as well, closer to fight date. Anything under, I mean, really, I mean, this is a poor price. Main event, we have the return of the McNutty one, taking on Donald Cerrone, which I guess is a handpicked opponent by Dana White, right?
Pretty much.
Is there what is your excitement level for this fight, Wes? 1 out of 10.
Should probably a 7 or so. I'm excited for this fight.
Yeah,
I like it. I like this fight. I mean, me and Sean, I think both called. We thought this was the perfect comeback fight for Conor. It's not a given. I think that he wins this fight. I don't think it's a 100% foregone conclusion that Conor just comes in and blows out Cowboy in this fight whatsoever. Do I think Conor's gonna win? Yeah, probably. I don't think Conor comes back and is not prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he's fully trained for his fight. I think even out of all the dumb shit we've seen out of him over the past couple of years, I think the guy, when he does compete, he takes it very, very seriously, and I think he's very prepared for this fight. And I think Conor's a fucking great fighter, man. When the guy's prepared and wants to fight, he's a great fighter. As he ran into Khabib. Khabib's just got a skill set that is fucking horrible for Conor. He got his ass whooped. I don't think this is it. That this is about the perfect matchup that Conor could have. And then on the flip side, I always worry about Cowboy when he fights in 170, man. I just don't know what it is. He just at 170, it just like seems like he's not as committed and up for a fight. It's hard to imagine getting this fight against Conor. So I'm not going to put too much into it, but it's just usually when Cowboy fights at 170, he loses. He just doesn't seem as prepared as when he is at 155. So yeah, I think Conor does win this fight. I think Conor gets Cowboy with something in the second or third round. Cowboy's really susceptible to getting caught with stuff, getting caught with body stuff. So now, if this does get into later in the third and the fourth round and stuff, it's going to be a different ball game, I think. I don't know how Conor does not have cardio problems looking like he's looking right now. I mean, that dude looks like he's completely jacked. I mean, as big as I've seen Conor, like he is fucking swolled up. I don't think 170 is good for him at all. 55 is definitely where he should be. But I think he gets Cowboy out of there before then. So yeah, I like Conor here, and I like Conor inside the distance. I'm gonna bet that small because I will be happy if Cowboy starches him. I will be absolutely happy if Cowboy catches one of those fucking patented head kick knockouts sometime in the third round. Won't make me mad at all. But I think Conor's motivated and back, and I think he's prepared for this fight, and I think he wins this fight.
You, Sean?
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun matchup. Like Wes said, I mean, we kind of expected this to be the matchup. Cowboy's a name, and it's a pretty good style matchup for McGregor. That being said, McGregor hasn't fought in over a year, and he's dealing with lots of things going on in his personal life. He also looks to be adding a shit ton of muscle, which I don't think he needs. He needs to lean out, so maybe he has some better cardio. Hopefully, I guess his thought is he needs to get rid of Donald Cerrone right away, and that added power will do it. I don't know. I do think this, if Cowboy can get out of the first 2 rounds, this becomes a much closer fight. Whether it does or not, that's kind of a different story. Gates G was able to take out Cowboy in 1 round. Ferguson took him out at the end of second. Darren Till, when he was back up in 170, was able to do it inside a round. So, and then Masvidal did it just inside 2 rounds. So, Cowboy can definitely be hit, and he always seems to be a slow starter. Seemed that way against Ala Quinta. I think that is the big question. I did sprinkle on Cowboy at plus 260 for half a unit. The probably smarter play is to live bet this. Then you can kind of save that first round knockout. Because I think I find it hard to believe Cowboy's going to win the first round. I think that's going to be all Conor, and then you'll probably get an even better number, and you'll lessen the chance of him getting finished. Likely Conor KOs Cowboy inside of 2 rounds. Conor will be my pick, but yeah, sprinkled on Cowboy at plus 260.
All right, let me pull up my ratings here. I got McGregor a B+, Cerrone a B-. One thing that McGregor has is he's got pretty darn good power, and Cerrone has struggled with power in his last few fights. This is dangerous for Cowboy, especially early with the onslaught from McGregor. I think this is going to be a tough fight for Donald. I think he's going to come in. He's also faltered big time in major fights. That's been kind of Donald's MO of late, is that he can't win the big fight. And really his whole career, like what big fight has Cowboy ever won?
A big fight?
A big fight.
He's had a lot of big fights, but probably more like title eliminator type.
Yeah,
fights.
like I'm
And lost like all of them.
Like he headlined against Iaquinta and won, but I don't
That's
know
not
if
a
I would
big
call
fight.
that a big fight. Like
I would say his fight against Pettis, his fight against RDA. He had a fight against Nate Diaz on national TV, blew that. I think that was pay-per-view.
Dos Samuels on Fox. Yeah.
lost to Till in England or in Poland as the headliner.
Yep. It's gonna be tough. That's just been his career thing. And I mean, is he going to be affected by the McGregor stuff? I mean, Cowboys usually cool as they come, but obviously this is a different type of thing. I mean, he might be up for it, but I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to deal with McGregor's left hand, speed and power, and just faltering.
That speed might be slowed down a bit at 170 with all this bulk. That is one thing to note.
Maybe.
And I'm not convinced that all that bulk equals more punching power.
Yeah, like I mean,
does he need? He doesn't need mega power to knock out Cerrone though. Anymore.
No, he needs precision and
speed. And speed, yeah,
exactly.
And he has that.
He doesn't have that speed. Did really slow down at 170. It slowed down against Nate and stuff like that. Nate is a very stationary target, and he wasn't like he was hitting him, but. That speed is definitely not as
what about like
the is at 155
fight? Like, I mean, Cerrone doesn't deal well with fighters who swarm either.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what Gaethje did, and that's really what McGregor's. I mean, McGregor's going to be all over him.
It's a perfect matchup.
Be all over him.
It really is. It's as good a matchup as Conor could get coming back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it really sets up well for him. And I think Conor's going to get the KO inside of a round and a half. Maybe even in the first round, and that will do it. I mean, if it goes to round 4 and 5, obviously it gets way more interesting, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think so. I think it ends earlier. And yeah, and what that sets up for Conor down the road, I guess we'll find out. I think Masvidal makes the most sense as a winnable fight, and something there saying he wants to be the badass type of thing. Yeah, okay, fine. But I guess we'll find out Saturday night. And with that, we are done for the week. We'll start
We're
WrestleMania
back.
2020 with a bang, and we'll see what happens after that. Let's just see what's the next card. Raleigh, North Carolina. I think so. A week later, and let's just take a quick look at
Blades
that.
versus Dos Santos, RDA versus Chiesa.
Arnold Allen has a fight scheduled, I think.
Well, it got
Blades
removed because Emmett pulled out, so now they're looking for another.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. That was supposed to be Frankie Edgar.
Wow,
versus
Sarah
Sandhagen.
McMahon is on that
Oh
card?
yeah, that was gonna be Frankie twice in a month fight. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not as good as the card now, but the Allen Emmett fight would have been really good.
Lentz Naramani, that should be just craziness. Bevan Lewis, oh my God, they're bringing back that dude too. Townsend, my boy Montel Jackson is fighting a 9-1 Brazilian on that card. I'm not sure if I've seen Corrales.
You probably have.
Oh my God, Sarah McMahon is still fighting.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm shocked that she's still fighting.
She's now like a multiple-time mom, right? Ooh.
Is she? Is this the
Multiple
second
mom
time?
quit. That's for sure. Multiple time.
I wasn't sure about that, but that's interesting. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That does it for this week's show. We'll be back next week with this card in Raleigh. Until then, enjoy the fights and hope for chaos.